Good evening and welcome everybody to this an odd version of the Fireside Chat with Jamie, me, James, and Brent, of course, to the right, and Scott out in the field with those two magnificent male lions that we saw earlier today. We're going to wing this one by the seat of our pants, or in fact the spiky bits of wood sticking into our bottoms. We're not probably going to show you too many clips because we will be probably swapping to and from Scott as we go. Now, without further ado, we had a question from Jimelin, which I'm going to farm out to Jamie.
So, Jimelin, you were wondering how far Scott is from us with those lions. So, Jimelin, he is roughly between 350 to 450 meters in that direction. So we had a little bit of a disagreement as to exactly how far it would be, but they are very, very close. We can see Scott's lights, and we did hear them calling, or the one calling just a little bit earlier.
Wonderful sound, that. And then we had another question, Brent, from Tina.
Yes, hi Tina, thanks very much for your question. Tina's wondering a little bit more about the history of the Salati males, and I've actually fortunately saw them when there was still a coalition of 4 down on a property called Singita, where I was visiting a good friend of mine. And at that stage they were probably a little bit older than what the Birminghams are now, and were trying to establish territory in that area in the western sections of the Sabi Sands. And the Majinga lions did come in and have a big fight with them, and one of them was killed or died from the wounds suffered in that fight. I'm not sure how the other male was killed, but they then moved from that section through to the north, and I'm not quite sure with the Matimbas and what happened, but they ended up in the Manyaleti. Now these two males, I'm not convinced are the Salati males, and I know it's very, very difficult, but I've got photos of them from about 3 years ago, and then I've got photos from them about 2 months ago in the Manyaleti around where we were staying at the main dam. And the one male that I was told by the Tinswalu guides were the Salati males has a very big scar right across his nose. Their manes are not nearly as impressive. They are a similar age, but I personally don't think these are Salati.
So what age would that put them at? You saw them at what age initially?
I'd probably say 5.5.
So that would put them at 7 now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they look to me like they could be around that age, so who knows? Perhaps that scarring's covered over slightly. Sandy in Indiana, you saw the one with the squaff leg. One of them is injured. He's limping quite badly on his left-hand hind leg, and you saw him scent marking. And Sandy, you're wondering if this is perhaps something that hurts him to scent mark. Sandy, I don't think so at all.
The lions are roaring.
You won't maybe be able to hear that.
This mic is very good.
Wonderful sound. Two calling now.
You can see Brian nervously looking behind him into the darkness.
That's wonderful. Now, that's a distinct tone. A very distinct tone for me, from what I heard from them, either of the Matimbas and also from the Birminghams. Scott is still looking for them, and it ties in with Sandy's question about them scent marking. So Sandy, I don't think the scent marking is affecting that. That injury to me looks old, and lions can cope with injuries like that. It looks like an internal muscular injury or perhaps a joint injury. They can cope with them, and clearly they are marking now vocally as well as with their urine. So that call that you can hear there is a territorial call. Now what they're doing, Brent, what have you seen?
No, I thought I heard other lions responding, but quite far off.
I think that's a cicada.
No, I do know the difference between a cicada and a lion.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, that's good. Just to check. So they are definitely marking territory. Now, the question goes out to you, and of course the panel of geniuses by my side here, as to what on earth is going on. We've got a coalition takeover with 5 male lions supposedly chasing our 2 beloved Matimbas deep into the south and possibly into oblivion. And now these 2 fellows pitch up from where we don't know. What's going on? Brent, are they taking part in the takeover?
I think they might have seen a gap, and I think they are definitely a far bigger challenge than the Matimbas. They are in their prime, and as we've been watching, those Birminghams are just that little bit too young to really, really sort of dominate an area, and that's probably why they're killing all the lionesses as well. These guys are the right age. They're in prime condition. Even with that injury, I don't think if they got into a fight, that injury would affect him in the slightest. He would get stuck right in there. And I also think the Birminghams are possibly, I was chatting to Mike, and there's two big prides of lions to the east, the Talamatis and the Torchwoods. And the Birminghams seem to be trying to get towards that area at the moment. So, Jamie, what do you think?
No, I think it's definitely a power vacuum that's been created.
Yeah.
So they've chased the Matimbas away, and now they're a little bit too young. They don't actually seem too sure about what they're doing, and they're just skirting around the area. And while they've been doing that, there's two males who do know what they're doing and do know how to approach something like this, and they've just moved in.
Well,
Whether
also,
or not they stay, I don't know.
nobody's been marking here, of course, for the
Yeah,
last
that's
while.
also
So
true.
Djuma has been basically a lion vacuum for the last, week or so until today.
Last night.
And last night. So very exciting to have some lions back on the property. But with the rain that fell last week, we had big rains last week, of course, which would have cleaned out most of the scent of any lion marking that there had been. Matimbas haven't marked here for weeks now. The Birminghams haven't probably marked here for some time, so just doesn't smell much of lion. So for two males coming into the area, it possibly does smell a bit more like, a bit less like lion, and like a good place to try and set up. So what we're going to do, while Scott is still trying to find them, let's go and have a look at the highlights package of his finding them this morning, and you can get a good look at those lions. Obviously it's a bit dark now, so the look that you're going to get of them when Scott does find them again isn't going to be what you had earlier, and possibly in the light of this grey, eerie morning that we had today. So we'll show you those lions and see you just a little bit later.
And some space, because we don't know who they are. And judging by this one's behavior, he could charge the vehicle at any stage. He doesn't seem very happy with us. No. Sadly, this is the one that's very badly wounded. And I'm very happy I didn't bump into these guys on foot. Rubbing his head in this small apple leaf tree as a sign of him picking up the scent of other lion, and he may well scent mark as he passes by this bush. Here he goes. There we go. Well, very happy to see that it's not nearly as badly wounded as I thought it was when we saw it initially. Oh, I cannot believe how pretty he is. He's got a massive mane. So I'm just going to keep...
Spectacular view there of those two strangers come into our land where there has been a vacuum for the last week or so, and just as we were saying, the rain has probably washed away any scent of lion. Well, that lion scent is back now with a vengeance, with two big 7-year-old males. Now, Oki had a question.
Now, Oakley's got a very interesting question, and it's all to do with the line dynamics that we've seen over the last few weeks. And we all know that a couple of the Nkuhuma females were killed by the Birmingham boys. And Oki, you were wondering if Junior's sort of constant presence with that pride, at an age where he really should start to move out, whether that's put them in any kind of danger. Now, there is a possibility, it's something that we have considered, that it might be causing a little bit of extra tension. However, it's something that I said on air a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember exactly when, but that I thought that maybe a lot of the friction from the line between the lionesses and the Birmingham boys might actually come from those lionesses protecting the two young sub-adult females. They're just at that age where they might be safe, but they might also not be. So it was just a question that I thought is a possibility. I don't necessarily think it's entirely based around Junior.
I think that's, to me, far more viable. So we did have a lot of postulation that perhaps the attempted defense of Junior from these lions is creating the conflict, which initially sounded quite plausible until I managed to remember that those two young lionesses are younger than Junior is, and so therefore the pride is probably trying to protect them, and it makes much more sense for them to protect the females in the pride than it would a big male who is actually at the moment something of a drain on their resources and an attractor of conflict. So it would make more sense if they were trying to protect those youngsters.
And unfortunately, very recently, 2 or 3 nights ago, they lost one of those youngsters. He was actually killed in the staff village of one of the lodges
Yeah.
to the west of us. And Tristan, who works there, had a very little sleep that night,
Yeah.
with the lions fighting over the carcass of that lioness.
Then Deborah, you had a question about whether or not these 2 males would join the Matimbas or not. Deborah, no, I don't think they will. We don't think they are the northern Matimbas. Remember, the Matimba males were initially 5 males. One was went to meet his maker rather sooner than he would have hoped, and they split across, and there were 2 and 2, and then they seemed to be split again. The northern ones went a lot further north than these ones here. So these we don't think are the Matimbas, and we think they're possibly the Salatis, so they won't join with a strange coalition like the Matimbas. Right, without further ado,
Off to Scotty,
Off to
who's
Scotty.
found the lions.
you don't need to look at us anymore. We'll go across to them. See you just now.
Welcome back, everyone. And we got extremely lucky and managed to relocate these male lion. They're deep in the Mulwati. We've only got visual of one, and we are actually completely stuck where we are here. So I'm glad we've got a visual, but if they move, we cannot. We've got one tire completely spinning in the air, so we've got our work cut out for us here a little bit later. But very happy that at least we have got you another visual. And they have been continuing to vocalize, and they could, if we're lucky, vocalize again. This one's coming straight towards us. It's going to cross behind the vehicle. Extremely awkward angle here, but giving you some great last views as he heads up. You can see this is the individual with the injured leg. And interestingly enough, just chatting to Jors, and he said he's seen these 2 male lions up in Buffelshoek chase 3 of the Birmingham males. It was a few months ago. And there he goes. I just need to chat to yours quickly, the guy who's just given us that update on the other lions with the sighting with the Birmingham males. He's just found the other male on Gari Katlan. Copy, thanks yours. We actually stuck here, so we're going to try and get unstuck and then join you, the other individuals on his way towards you. Okay, so while we try and get unstuck here, we are going to send you back to the fireside chats, and then I'm not sure if I am going to see you again. If I don't, thank you very much, but there is a chance if we do get unstuck, we might get you one last visual of these males.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Whoops, Scott will be buying the first round tonight.
He'll be severely mocked.
Yes, I'm normally the one being mocked, but glad to see it isn't me today. I managed to extricate myself from where I was watching beautiful Sindile earlier on. Now, on to the other lions, of course. We had the Nkuhuma Pride, 3 of them yesterday, Brent and Jamie.
Yep.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about their hunt last night and why, or if they were successful?
Well, we'll hang on to Jamie. She followed them across from Arathusa.
Well, it started sort of with the tail end of that buffalo herd and picked up on a little bit of anxiety amongst them, but I was desperately trying to find out on the radio where Junior had been seen, because obviously we were trying to follow up on that story. And I just said to the guys, listen, I'm going to do a loop around the back and see if these lions have been following the buffalo herd. Picked up on their tracks, and I called some of the Arathusa guys in. Sean called me in, and we had those 3 lionesses in the open patch, very clearly on the move from Arathusa and quite focused on what they were doing. So we headed across Triple M, and then we watched them move from termite mound to termite mound all the time, looking over and following just behind, and I was in communication the whole time with Brent, just trying to work out exactly where they were in relation to the buffalo herd until we got right up close to them. It was a really exciting evening. I mean, as soon as it got dark, we could see them start to go into a really serious mode. And for those 3 lionesses, it's a little bit tricky to try and get into a buffalo herd. So we watched a lot of backwards and forwards. I know when we were sitting switched off in the dark, it was very difficult to tell where they were until the entire herd stampeded basically straight into Brent.
I chose my position quite well, wait on the other side. But we're going to show you the clip of that right now, and then we'll chat a little bit more about it when we come back.
So you think it's Nkuhuma's? It is Nkuhuma's. Here we go. She's up now. Sorry guys, I was just talking to Tax, who thinks it might be the Nkuhuma's. Apparently there was a 4th lioness with them earlier today. Just have a look at the way that she's looking. She's looking directly in the direction of that buffalo herd. They're probably tucked away in the bushes. I just got a glimpse of them. They are probably, the closest one is about 100 meters away from where she is. And she's spotted them. She definitely knows they're there. Buffalo are a little bit dazed and confused at the moment. They know that the lions are here, but they're not quite sure which way they should be going.
But there we go. You see how there's a lioness in front of us testing. There was another lioness off to the side. And they're going to do this constantly. So the buffalo are well aware. That's why my lights are on. They know where the lions are. It's just for that initial sort of charge that we don't keep our lights on at night, because she's testing the buffalo. There she comes. She's testing the buffalo. There's probably one of the other lionesses close by. I saw 2 now, and they're looking for weakness. They're looking for a young calf or a sickly adult to take down. There's a way, but you see those are the big buffalo bulls on the edge that are forming a protective layer around the herd. So pushing these buffalo, pushing them, looking for that weakness. And quite often the buffalo will turn around and chase them. Which is about to happen. Yeah, she's running from a buffalo. So it's very much a testing game. So unsuccessful. I thought I saw the buffalo turn around and chase the lions. But this is by no means over. And that was an absolutely incredible sighting. It was fascinating to watch the behavior there, how the lionesses just pushed and pushed and pushed on the edge of that herd, looking for that little bit of weakness, looking for a calf who suddenly might have been stepped on in that stampede. But for me, the most amazing thing is that noise. When that buffalo herd goes, it's like the earth opens up. It's like an incredible earthquake. But we've got very good news.
Scott is unstuck.
Yes.
So we're going to say goodbye to you. Before we do, there was a brief hiatus or brief mistake, if you like, on the drive earlier. The thumb didn't get to greet you, so it's going to say goodbye. Thank you to Brian on camera. A big thank you to Louise and Nikki in the final control. Thank you, Brent and Jamie, very much. Brent will be going on leave on
Wednesday.
I will be going on Friday. I'm going to the United Kingdom to watch the great David Gilmour playing at the Royal Albert Hall. If you don't know who he is, you've been hiding under a rock. I will also be going to watch the Springbok rugby team playing in the Rugby World Cup, which will be marvellous fun. Right, without further ado, I think we'll head back across to Scott.
Oh, the lions are roaring. I think
And
it's
the lions
perfect
are
timing.
roaring.
All right.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, and have a marvellous evening. See you in the morning.
Well, at least you can get to here. See if I can find him here. Okay. Well, it's very thick in there, and I actually couldn't see him initially, and I thought their roar was coming to a close, but there was kind of a final extra bitty added on at the end there. And isn't it wonderful that we've managed to both get unstuck and get you back into the action here? You can just see the one there. I'm not sure yours has the other one moved off already.
Yes, into the middle of this block here.
Okay.
He's not on the road itself.
Okay. So the other individual has moved off deeper into the thick bush here, still heading north back towards Buffalo's Hook. And this, the one with the slightly injured leg, is trying to catch up with him, and he's the one that's doing the vocalizing. The other one's keeping dead quiet, which is really interesting. Not too sure why that is. Here he's really making sure he leaves a clear scent trail behind, and by rubbing his feet like that in his own urine, he will continue to leave a trail of messages as he walks. That'll be a good message to other male lions that come through this area. Like I've said earlier, Jors has confirmed that he has seen these two individuals chase off 3 of the Birmingham males. In the Birmingham's defense, there was only 3 of them, not all 5, and it was a few months ago, but they have interacted with one another before. I just want to take this opportunity to try and get ahead of him. Just a couple of minutes left of drive. Thanks, Jors. And thankfully this is quite a wide road, so we should be able to sneak past him without interfering too much with his plans. Once we've got ahead of him, we can just reverse down the road and wait for him to approach us, getting you some great frontal views of him. And especially if he does in fact roar, then we will be in a great spot to receive that audio. Jors, if you don't mind shining your spotlight, that would help us greatly with some side lights. Oh, no problem, no problem. Okay, cheers, Jors. Sorry, a little bit of confusion here. I thought Jors was going to be staying in the sighting with us, but he's not. He's moving off. And what a beautiful, beautiful sight this is. I think he may let off another roar shortly. Or he may just keep walking up towards us. He's probably wondering where his mate's gone and why it's keeping so quiet. I think we might just extend the show by a few moments in the hope that we may get one full roar from him. But he, I think, is following the scent trail of his coalition partner, and it's into some very, very thick bush where it wouldn't make sense for us to follow him. And I think that, everyone, is sadly the last glimpse for now of these 2 beautiful big males. And I'm very happy that you guys at least got to hear a little bit of the audio, even though it wasn't the full show, and also get to see them on the move. You've got a much better idea now, I'm sure, of how majestic and powerful they are. Even this one that's got a bit of a wonky back end, he's still a very powerful male, and he's certainly, his front half makes up for that small limp that he's got. They're probably going to continue into Buffalo's Hook, so we might not see them for a few days, but the fact that they did come here, they have vocalized and scent marked, is very promising, and that indicates to me that that we can expect to see them here in the future. And that, coupled with Jors's information about them chasing off the Birmingham boys not so long ago, means there's some really exciting stuff that is going to unfold here in the coming weeks and months. Well, a big thanks to all of you guys for your help, questions, comments and support throughout all of the drives, but especially today. And well done to Jandre on camera, and a big thanks to Nikki and Louise in the final control room. Hope you enjoyed the fireside chat and the safari. We'll see you all on the Sunset Drive. Oh, nice.